Mhm. That is incredibly bright. Okay, that's like a lot of bright. Hello, decision makers. This is the 9th. On this clock, it is 11:59 p.m. September 9th, 2022. Happy Sabbath. Yeah, it's a good Sabbath. So, this one is late in the week. Anyway, read for this week, study Romans 15, 4, 5, 4 and 5, Romans 5, 3 to 5, 1 Samuel 26, Psalm 37, 1 to 11. So, yeah, this is lesson 11. And oh, that's much better lighting. I still need to figure out the whole backwards thing, but it's in the list. It's just not a written down list, so it's a little bit less accountably. The week at a glance. Why do we sometimes have to wait so long for things? Lack of information. What lessons can we learn about patience while in the crucible? Become informed in patient times. So in times when you need patience, like instead of just like being patient only, you can like become informed. There was someone there for a moment. Anyway, so Sunday, September 4th, the God of patience. I like when they phrase things like that. Read Romans 15, 4 and 5. What is found in these verses for us? And what I found was 15, 4. I'll just go to it because I kind of not sure. Oh, was that Romans? I'm not sure if it was like a full thing. Because sometimes there's like parts of the what's it called? Parts of the not only script but part of the line that I like, and then some part I don't really like very much, or it's not like applicable. But 15:4, so we're looking for Romans 780. That lighting is way. Okay, Romans. Now let's get to 15. For everything that was written in the past was written to teach us, so that through endurance and the encouragement of the scriptures we might have hope. That is incredible, because basically what they're saying is we write stuff down and it matters. It's not just like fiction writing. Not that, I mean, fiction has its place, but it's yeah, it's just nice to know that someone was like, this will be helpful, write that down, learn something from it, and yeah. The encouragement of the scriptures. That's just such a beautiful line. The encouragement of the scriptures. Anyway, so read Psalm 27:14, Psalm 37:7, and Romans 5:3 to 5. What are these verses saying to us? They're saying someone's coming to help. Be still to avoid avoiding judging. Work through the pain to resolve the pain. And what does patience lead to? Awareness, answers, and painlessness. What things are you desperately waiting for? Medical treatment. How can you learn to surrender everything to God and His timing? Continuous effort and observation. Just realizing, oh, God answered my prayer. Didn't even notice until I noticed. That's what I noticed anyway. Pray your way into an attitude of complete surrender and submission to the Lord. I can try this ongoing. Monday, September 5th, in God's time. Read Romans 5:6 and Galatians 4:4. What do they tell us about God's timing? God's timing is timely. Women can measure God's time, and the timing was nearly there and then fully there. That's what I got from those scriptures. Oh, a bug bite. Think about, for instance, the 70-year prophecy of Daniel 9:24-27, the prophecy that points to Jesus as the Messiah. Review it if you need to. How long was this time period? What does this tell you about learning to wait for God's time, even if it takes what seems to us a long time? So to me, I'm not really thoroughly in comprehension of all this stuff, but whenever they talk about like how long was this time period, it's always a week. It's always 6 days, 1 day of break. So that times however many weeks were involved. What does this tell you about learning to wait for things in God's time, even if it takes what seems to us a long time? Tell us about learning to wait. Well, there are angels that are ahead of us, and we can kind of get into the stream or the flow of things before we even realize. So what examples can you find in the Bible of God doing things in his own time that can help you learn to trust that he will do for you what's right in his own time as well? I wrote some things down. Daniel 11:29, Luke 11:44. So there's so the 11:29 is reworking, and then Luke 11:44 is a caring time. And so at the same time, ask yourself, what might I be doing that could be delaying the answer to a prayer that could have been answered long ago? Talk higher up. So keep talking to people who know more and more and more. And then for a while, talk to people who don't know a lot about what it is that you're asking. And maybe you can get some new insight or something. Read 1 Samuel 26, 1-11. Why does David refuse to kill Saul? 1 Samuel 26, 9. He is God's anointed. What principles does this teach us about the way God brings about his plans for our lives? God's plan for us is in part life longevity. Now read 1 Samuel 26, 12-25. How does David's refusal to kill Saul affect Saul? What does this teach us about the advantages of waiting for God? So 26:21, repentance. 26:23, the Lord delivers. So, yeah. Think about how easily David could have justified killing Saul. After all, David was told he'd have the throne, and Saul was so evil anyway. Yet his actions speak of true faith in God. What conclusion might you be able to draw from this example for yourself in light of whatever you might be waiting for? Look for signs from God. Ask, what are God's signs? Wednesday, September 7th. Elijah. The problem of rushing. After such a powerful intervention by the Lord on Mount Carmel, Elijah should have been full of faith and trust. Instead, he ran in fear of his life. What lesson can we learn from this bad example? Optimistic faith. Read the following text. What things caused the characters depicted here to rush outside of God's will? Genesis 16, 1-3, Numbers 20, 10-12, Judges 14, 1-3, Matthew 20, and 21. So Luke 9:52-56, Acts 9:1. So for this, It was so in this order: overeager, people pressure, desire, quick judgment, urgency, retribution, futility. So for all those listed, that's what I got, respectively. Thursday, September 8th, learning to take delight in the Lord. In the following verses, what is David's counsel to God's people in the situation? So 37:1 in Psalms, express joy to God. And that's really important, I find. I find a lot of people are kind of like almost neutral. They're not just like, yeah, thanks God. Like they're not really jazzed up. And it's really confusing because, I mean, it's like they're still trying to be like cool and calm and couth or whatever. And it's like, no, the Bible actually mentions celebration too. Um, it's not all terrible. So yeah, 37:5, express gratitude to God. 37:7, and this is all in Psalms, express detachment while unable to stop wrongdoing. What? That doesn't. I feel like that's not even a sentence. That's weird. That's a strange response. 37. What was I looking at? 37:7. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Do not fret when men succeed in their ways, when they carry out their wicked schemes. Oh, so if you're in a situation where you're unable to stop a wrongdoing, because I guess that happens. Yeah, I can express the virtue detachment where there's like a lack of personal interest. Yeah. So 37:8. Keep calm and pray on. That's what I got for that. Read Psalm 37:4 again. In the context of the verses you have just made comments on, what does it mean to take delight in the Lord? Oh, I messed this up. By God is. Okay, I did rewrite this. Be pleased by what God is doing. So yeah, I like that. How can you learn to take delight in the Lord? Spend some time in prayer, seeking God's guidance as to how this may become a reality in your life. So seek beauty and caring. If you can find beauty and caring, probably going in a good direction. And that's beauty and caring as a virtue, which is like, from virtuesforlife.org or .com. Virtues for Life virtues list. There's so many good virtues. I mean, they're all good like that, but there's like definitions, and a person can like apply like the virtue into their lexicon or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, it's just interesting how specific it is, and it really is a observable, tangible thing to work with virtue if you work with it. So Friday, September 9th, discussion questions. How does it mean that Jesus weighs and measures every trial? He already made good changes. I feel like I answered this a little bit differently. How can knowing this help us while we wait? So the question is, what does it mean that Jesus weighs and measures every trial? He includes new and old details plus hidden ones. How can we know this help? How can knowing this help us while we wait? He already made good changes. So yeah, so God's already made good changes, and yeah, there's lots to discover. Number 2, ask people in class to give personal testimonies as to what patient waiting is all about. What are their fears, their joys? What were their fears, their joys? How did they cope? What did they learn? What promises did they cling to? Waiting for proper fellowship is the answer I put down. Number 3, what can you do as a church or a class to help others who are in the crucible as they await God's timing for something? Suggest resources. So if someone needs a place to stay in their vehicle and sleep overnight, hey, there's a camp or a parking lot over that location. Or if they need a place to park in the day, you can be like, oh, well, there's day parking over at that location. And then other things that are not only sleeping in their vehicle or something. Resources. Where's the closest washroom? What's the Wi-Fi password? Yeah, the Wi-Fi password, I just recently had a situation where I went to get a Wi-Fi password and suddenly it was like lockdown. And the network was, referred to as public. So anyway, it's a private communism thing. I really should study that someday or something. It just really seems like in Canada there's just this private communism thing, and it's like, whose communism is actually better? If it makes any difference, I don't know. But anyway, I liked the concept of, just like voting for things. Just like, hey, does this make sense? Let's do it. Like, how complicated is that? But then the undocumented criminals, they're like, well, but how does it help our crime? Anyway. What is the role of prayer in the development of patience? Are there others you can pray for so that the Spirit will develop patience in their lives? So the role is transcendency. Yes, I presume is the answer for this other one about are there others? So, okay. That's that one. Okay, bye.